Hey everybody, this is Josh with Rockstar Vapes. Today, I'm going to show you my favorite build lately. Going to show you how to build it. Going to tell you why I like it so much. Um, yeah. So you see, this is definitely a pretty cloudy build, and you might be surprised because it's just a single coil, and I'm using stock airflow on the Tugboat. What this is a single parallel coil, and you see it sitting up pretty high on my deck there, and the reason for that is so that that airflow hole hits kind of the bottom and under the coil. All right, and you'll see that my wicking allows for the air to pass under the coil and behind it. See there? That big gap that runs all the way behind it. And she performs. So before we get started, let's cover a little bit of battery safety. The build we will be doing today is going to be sitting right around 0.35 to 0.4 ohms. So let's say we hit 0.35 ohms, just to our lowest that will go with this coil. If we get 0.35 ohms and we're getting a full 4.2 volts, we will be drawing 12 amps from our battery. So you need to have a battery that is capable of at least 12 amps. I suggest having a battery that has more than enough amps. I use Sony VTC4s and VTC5s, which have a 30 amp continuous draw. So I have more than double the amperage needed to properly power this coil without any worries of venting or anything like that. Now I would recommend probably at least a 20 amp battery for this build, no less than 12 amps, people. Please do not use this build unless you have at least a battery capable of pushing 12 amps. Okay? I highly suggest the Sonys. Go ahead and just invest in a couple of these and you'll be good to go with almost any build you want to do. So without further ado, let's go up close and I'll show you how to build it. Here's what you're going to need to do this build. This is the kind of my bare necessities. There are some other accessories that are nice to have, like a hand torch, but you can get all this done. You don't have to torch your wire beforehand. I greatly prefer it. It makes it easier to work with, and then it holds its shape better. It's less springy. I really honestly recommend getting yourself a hand torch and torching your canthal before you build. Let's run through everything real quick. First and most importantly, since we are going to be shooting for about 0.35 ohms, you need a high amp battery, such as this Rockstar Sony VTC5. This has a 30 amp continuous rating, and that is more than enough to handle the amount of power this build will draw. So get yourself some good batteries, people. They are worth the investment. Alright, so first things first, good battery. The next most important thing is an ohm meter. You need one of these, people, and preferably one of the ones that reads to 2 decimal places. It doesn't just read 0.3 or 0.4, it reads 0.35, and we'll see that when we get there. You need an ohm meter. This was under $12 shipped from eBay from a company called Game of Vapes. So check these out. 12 bucks. You can't afford not to have it in your rebuild kit. All right. Then you'll need all the supplies to do your actual build. Need some canthal. In this case, we have 26 gauge canthal. I've got about a foot of it here, and I've already torched it. Needle nose pliers, and need something. I guess you could probably do this with the tweezers. It's just a lot easier to do those. Do that with these to squeeze your coils while you're setting them, and to put a crimp in the wire before we start, because we are going for parallel. So needle nose pliers. your screwdriver to not only screw down your post screws, but also to wrap around. This is a 3mm equivalent of the Phillips head. Some wire snips and or fingernail clippers to snip your wire. Some tweezers. This is good for your wicking and to squeeze the coils and kind of finagle stuff around a little bit. Some scissors to cut your cotton. Your atomizer. Today we have the authentic Tugboat. You will need a mod and some juice. So that is everything. Today's featured juice is Joey Bag of Donuts by Vaping Sisters. It's described as a pastry flavor, a little bit of a donut note, a little bit of like a cinnamon roll Danish kind of thing going on. It's really, really good. I'm digging this lately. Pretty awesome. Thank you to Vaping Sisters for sending this my way to review. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do when you build this parallel coil is to crimp your wire in the middle. So what we do is we take the two ends of wire and hold them together like so, and then we're just going to kind of pull our fingers along so we find the center point like that. Now you're going to want to keep these as parallel as possible. You don't really want them crossing over. The more parallel you have them, the easier it's going to be to work with. So now we need to crimp our wire here. And just take your time with this. Do it nice and slow. And what we're trying to do here is to put a little bend in the wire there. See what we're trying to go for? Now we want to get that all the way. As tight as possible. Alright. So, looking pretty good. Laying side by side with that crimp at the end. That is what you want. Alright, so now we have our wire ready. It's two strands running parallel to each other, thus the name parallel coil. Next thing you're going to want to do is wrap your coil. So we'll take our screwdriver and we'll hold a generous amount down here in between our thumb and our pointer finger. I am right-handed, so I'm holding this with my left hand. Down here with your thumb and pointer finger, and then you'll come over your screwdriver like so. Get it nice and tight in there. And I found that the key to nice tight coils is to wrapping them tightly to begin with. So, put a nice steady pressure on your coil, on your canthal, and just pull it in tight, like so. I'm going to go ahead and switch this camera angle around so you can see it from my point of view. Now we're going for 5 wraps. It's going to look like 10 wraps because of the nature of this parallel coil. So we have 2 wraps already. Keep a nice even tension on the wire and lay everything as close together as possible without overlapping. And it is a little tricky to make sure your wires don't get crossed over because you want them to stay the same all the way through. You don't want, your outside wire to cross over to the inside. But that wasn't too difficult. And practice makes perfect with this, people. But that's what you're going for right there. And you'll see you have the 2 strands of wire running parallel to each other. And it gives us a total of 10 coils. But in actuality, it is just 2 5-wrap coils kind of occupying the same space. And that gives you a quicker ramp up time, lower ohms, more surface area. And all of those are key to the kind of vape I'm trying to achieve here. So, there's our coil. Now what we're going to want to do is snip off this extra long leg here. And what I'm going to do is snip it off just a smidge shorter than the other leg. So that way we only have to feed one leg through the post at a time. just like so. This is what we're working on. Alright, so now we can begin to install it in our RDA. Now one nice little tip with this tugboat, and almost really any atomizer, is to take the legs, the leads, and kind of put a little bend in them, like so. And then you don't have to really fight the deck wall. You can just kind of scoop them in. Now we're going to want the leg that goes over top to go through our center post, because the center post is just a smidge taller than the negative post in the tugboat. So we're going to take that leg that goes over top, and we're just going to feed it right into the center post. Now we want those wires to lay flat in there and not get crossed over. So pay attention to that. Then we will feed the other leg into the negative post. Alright. Feed that right on through there. And again, make sure the wires stay flat. Now it can be helpful to use your screwdriver during this process so your coil doesn't get misshaped. And we're going to give ourselves a little bit extra leg because I'm going to center this coil. So what we'll do now is kind of hold this in place, and I like to get it just about lined up with the deck wall there, and then I'm going to tighten up the center post. Like so. Alright, now I'm going to actually pull this out a little bit to give myself a little bit of an extra lead on the negative post, and you'll see why in just a second. So now I can tighten up my negative lead, like so, nice and tight, good connection. Alright, now what we'll do is bend these up a little bit so we can get at them with our snippies. I like to leave myself a little bit of a lead sticking out, like that. And then we'll just tuck them up to the posts to keep them out of our way. Tweezers or a flathead screwdriver, and just tuck those leads up tight to the posts. Alright. Now you see this coil is not going to work where it's sitting because it's going to touch the wall of your RDA, and that is not good. So what we're going to do now is grab our needle nose pliers. We're going to squeeze the coil, not too tight, gently, and we're going to kind of pull it up and in. Now you see I just made a mess of that coil. So what we're going to do, put our screwdriver back in there, straighten everything up, pull it out nice and tight, like so. Alright. Now, you'll notice that I have this kind of elevated, and it's going to sit kind of high compared to the hole on the top cap of this tugboat. Alright? And what that's going to do is allow the air to come in under the coil and come up. And it's going to increase your flavor a lot. And you'll see how we're going to achieve that when we get to wicking. First, we're going to throw this on the ohm meter and make sure we're pretty close to our resistance, make sure there's no shorts. And then we can put it on a mod and heat the coil up and tweak it just a little bit and get it perfect. Make sure there's no hot spots and such. Alright, 0.46. Now I know that my build is normally lower than that with this coil. So what we're going to do is make sure all of our leads are properly tightened. Alright, so I've made sure all my screws are nice and tight, and we're sitting pretty close to the resistance I was shooting for. We're going to go ahead and throw this on a mod and fire it up and work out any hot spots, and I believe we'll get that resistance down just a little bit. Today we are using the Paragon clone, SXK, which I purchased from Select Vape. See, pretty good right off the bat. Not really any hot spots. Heating up nice and evenly. And that's due to wrapping the coil tightly to begin with. See, it's jumping to life nice and quick, and that's what we were going for with this parallel build. So what we'll do is we'll heat it up and squeeze it tight. Let it cool off so it'll hold its shape. Heat it up and squeeze it tight. Now don't squeeze too tight with these parallel coils because they will collapse on themselves. There we go. Nice and even from the inside to the outside. That's exactly what you want. We'll cool this off, take it off of our mod, go back to the ohm meter, make sure everything is on target. Alright, still sitting at about 0.4. I believe that extra 0.07 ohms is coming from this leg being a little long. Alright. So still looking pretty good. Now we'll go ahead and wick it. And wicking is definitely an art form. It takes some practice, some experience to be able to get it just right. I like to tease some cotton out to the right kind of diameter, because that is key. Not too much inside the coil, but not too little. It needs to have a nice firm touch, but it doesn't need to be so tight that it actually chokes off the flow of the juice. Either one of those, too much or too little, just not going to wick properly. It's not going to perform. So I like to roll up the tip nice and tight, just the tip. That's what she said. Feed that through my coil like so. Kind of twist a little to get that through there. Back it up. And just kind of go back and forth a little bit. Make sure it's in a good spot as far as the resistance of the cotton goes. And there we go. It should do us rather well. Alright, now I've got way too much cotton here, so we're going to clip some off. And I like to leave enough to tuck it between the posts. Alright, we'll shoot for just about the same on the other side. Even those up a little bit. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I have recently found that wicking like this, I tuck this down around in front, and then I want to push the tail of this cotton between the positive post and the negative post. Alright? Now I want enough to stay right here as to be between like the coil and the negative post, but I definitely want to see the positive post clearly, and I want there to be a gap under the coil. Alright, we're going to do the same thing with the other side. You'll see I'm feeding it back through between the posts there. Takes a little bit of poking and prodding to get it just how I like it. And then you end up with something like this. Now you'll notice you can see my center post right under the coil there, right? You'll notice you can see all the way down to the deck, and that there's airflow able to go up under and around the coil. So you're going to line up your airflow, and it's going to be sitting right about here, right where the tip of the screwdriver is there. And it's actually going to be hitting the bottom of the coil and giving it a chance to pass under the coil. Then you still have plenty of wick to soak up juice, and you have these little tails going into the back side where there's no coil to soak up any juice that can sit back there in this nice deep juice well. I found this to be my favorite build in the Tugboat to date. And trust me, I've tried a many. Alright, so that's about it, guys. We'll juice it up real quick with this fantastic Joey bag of donuts. Alright, let's see how she does. Kicking the vapor. Doing work for a single coil. Beautiful. Exactly what we were going for. Alright, I'll see y'all up top. I've really been enjoying this build a lot. And I think a big part of that is the wicking method I use there, and the height of the coil, and how the airflow goes under the coil and like around it, like enveloping the coil and getting all the little flavor molecules right on up into your vapor. And you see it's no slacker on vapor production either. And that's just with stock Tugboat airflow, and it just has such a good flavor to it. It's a warm vape. It's not a hot vape. And with the kind of vapes I enjoy, like the apple pie and the custard and the pastry, this Joey bag of donuts, it makes it feel like you're eating a warm donut or a warm pastry. So it's an excellent build for the dessert vapes. I've really been liking it a lot lately. And I think you will too if you give it a shot. So hopefully this video was helpful. Let me know in the comments below whether my build was clear and the instructions were good. You know, give me some feedback. Feel free to leave me a comment, shoot me an email to rockstarvapes@gmail.com. If you have any other builds you'd like to see me do, I'm a pretty accomplished builder. I'm not doing anything ridiculous. I'm not doing octo coils. I'm not doing super nano dragon Clapton Inception coils. I mean, I'll do a nano coil, I'll do a dragon coil, I'll do an Inception coil, but when you try and put all those things together, it's just too much. Can we not just build a nice little well-performing coil and vape people? I mean, unless you're in a cloud competition, do you really need much more than that? And even in a cloud competition, I just slap two parallels together, maybe with a little bit lower gauge wire, and go at it. That's how I won my first cloud competition. It was just 26 gauge dual parallel in the Spirit. No need to incept and dragon and nanonize and all that fancy stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a place for that. I enjoy coil art, but you know, there's also practical. This is a very practical, rewarding build, in my humble opinion. So like I said, give me some feedback. Don't want to ramble on too long. Thanks for joining me here in the Rockstar Vapes studio. I do appreciate you watching. If you like this video, please like. Wouldn't hurt if you'd share and subscribe. That'd be awesome. We have a 500 subscriber giveaway coming up pretty soon. If you go back to the Cyclops Vapor video, there's a giveaway. We have hit over 400 subscribers. Shout out to Suck My Mod, Matt and Vanessa. Love you guys. So there will be two winners. There will be a 35 milliliter bottle of your choice and a 15 milliliter bottle of your choice for second place. You'll also get the full line of Cyclops Vapor stickers for both winners. So go check that video out. Stay tuned for our 500 subscriber giveaway. We've got a few exciting juice reviews coming up. This Vaping Sisters juice. I have the full line. This isn't even all of them. They gave me 9 bottles of juice to review. Pretty awesome stuff. That review's coming soon. I got the Paragon review coming up soon. We're going to do some more coil builds. I want to do a dual vertical build for you in the Stellaire. Also got a review on the Stellaire coming up, the M16 clone. So yeah, all sorts of stuff going on here at the Rockstar Vape Studio. We have Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Putting up some pretty funny stuff on the Instagram lately. Got a video of me rocking out, blowing a little baby cloud with the Ego style device with some Taylor Swift in the background. You know you want to see that. Come follow me on Instagram at Rockstar Vapes. I guess that about wraps it up. Don't want to ramble too much. I foresee a lot of editing in this video because it looks like we're at a grand total of like 50 minutes of footage before I edit. Jesus Lord. Alright. Thanks everybody. Love you guys. Remember, vape like a rock star. Take it easy.